The purpose of this video is to illustrate the size of the blind spot between front and rear cameras on a bike, and how far away from the bike a medium-sized car would have to be for it to completely disappear into the blind spot. This is in response to a close pass complaint being rejected by the police on the grounds that the offending vehicle might have passed wider than 1 metre when in the blind spot. Trucks can have very sizable blind spots, bikes don't. Let's start with the road in question. The distance between the fog line or parking line on the left and the double white lines in the centre of the road is just under 310 centimetres, or 10 feet in old speak. Your typical medium-sized car is around 170 centimetres wide and just over 410 centimetres long. If you go to automobiledimension.com, you can see the dimensions of hundreds of cars. This purple bit of paper represents the road, with the white lines drawn to scale at 310 centimetres apart. The odd pink shape represents a bicycle with cameras mounted under the handlebars and under the saddle. The distance between the cameras is 80 centimetres. Bikes are not very long. The front camera has a field of view of 170 degrees and the rear camera 100 degrees. The pink triangle extending out from the bike is the blind spot between the cameras. Let's put the bike on the road and assume the cyclist is riding a bit out from the fog line or parking line to avoid car doors and broken glass, etc. on the side of the road. The yellow rectangle represents a typical medium-sized car approaching from behind. Let's see where it has to sit on the road in order to completely disappear into the blind spot. I've marked some black lines to show the distance from the edge of the handlebars. The bottom black line is 1 metre, the middle line is 2 metres, and the top line is 3 metres. If the driver stays out 1 metre, when the front of the car just enters the field of view of the front camera, half the car is still in view of the rear camera. As the car moves past, it's clearly in view of both cameras. It never disappears from view completely. At this distance, it is much longer than the blind spot. So how far out does the car need to be in order to completely disappear into the blind spot? Well, the answer is around 3 metres. In this example, if the cyclist was hugging the parking line, the car would have to be well on the other side of the double white lines in order to disappear completely into the blind spot. Now, the field of view does vary from camera to camera, and this will impact on the size and shape of the blind spot. In this example, I had an old GoPro on the front with a very wide 170 degree field of view, and an old Fly 6 on the rear with 100 degrees of view. The new Fly 6 and Fly 12 models both feature 135 degree fields of view. I hope the simple setup is enough to convince you that you cannot have a close pass and a vehicle vanishing into the blind spot at the same time. The two are mutually incompatible.
Fuck it.